Good afternoon, everybody. It's 27th of June. It's 2:20 in the afternoon, and it's, what is it? Thursday, Friday? Friday, I think. Anyway, I was going to be standing right here, and it's a place where I guess they get self-defense classes there, karate, probably kung fu, taekwondo, that sort of a deal. But it's the rain has kind of let up a little bit. Maybe I can walk around. I don't know. Like I said, it's a strange part of town. I've been here before. And here's a, well, can't show you that way. I got the camera on differently. A place you can buy beer here. Matter of fact, that's the one place, that's where I got the beer when somebody called me a liberal, middle-aged, I think it was liberal, middle-aged alcoholic or something like that. I'm not a liberal. I'm not middle-aged. I'm not even an alcoholic, but it was somebody who's probably a big Trump fan or whatever, and didn't like what I had to say, you know, that you have to be, it's kind of strange. There's a lot of philosophy going on around right now, and they're talking about this MAGA movement, and it was obviously started by Donald Trump. However, MAGA means Make America Great Again, but a lot of people are kind of misinterpreting all of this. And there's different perspectives on how to look at this, but it's not a worship of Donald Trump. It's supposed to be some of these principles that Donald Trump was espousing or something like that in his campaign. And of course, apparently he's betrayed them. It's like to say no foreign wars and no foreign interventions and things like that, but it looks like he, you know, like so many people, most of the MAGA movement, by the way, are realizing that he was bombing Iran for Israel. So it's not any different really than so many of these other administrations, but you have to kind of really wonder how does Israel have this tremendous grip on the United States? They have a tremendous grip on the politics of the federal government, and it's of course not difficult to figure out, but it's a big system, and it makes you wonder, why can't Donald Trump take that system down? You know, there's a lot of powerful people in politics, the senators and who knows what not, and they get a lot of money from Israel. Well, it's not from Israel, it's from the American taxpayers. But the money comes out of the pockets of the American taxpayers, as you all know. I've explained this, and a lot of people should explain this a lot better. And they all know this. And Donald Trump even knows this, because he's even said it to Benjamin Netanyahu. They take the money from the American taxpayer, at least $4 billion, and they send it to Israel free of charge. Israel has never had to pay one penny of that back, free of charge, out of the American taxpayers' pockets. And then a lot of that money filters back into the United States and pays off the politicians to be pro-Israel. So that keeps them in power. That's how that all works. I don't really know how that scheme started in the first place, but of course it does exist. And of course that's just $4 billion. And of course there's a lot more than that, as you all know. That's I think the last year it was around $10 billion, to be honest with you. I don't know it's ever gone that far. And that's, believe it or not, under Donald Trump. Oh, there's a kitty. Look at this guy. Oh, he noticed I see him. So. Go, better run, Boots. Got some back boots on him. But I wasn't going to be talking about that. Mostly what I'm going to be talking about is Armenia, because it deserves to be looked at, because this may be a very big future point of contention. I was saying at one point in time to keep your eyes on Transnistria as well, because that could be something very big. And there's confrontation, so to speak, politically going on, like something to do with Romania and Moldova, and that relates to Transnistria and Ukraine as well. But it's all some interesting geopolitics stuff, and who knows how this stuff is all going to be working out. But Armenia is definitely, that's a future battleground. So let me talk about what's going on, starting from what I started looking at here earlier today. Somebody sees me out here and looks like he's quite interested, so he's screamed outside here or something. I guess kids here just like in the States. Okay, so since the ceasefire, many of these world leaders, East and West, they seem to be going from all these meetings. It's not because of this war, but it's just they're going from meetings. It's mostly, of course, as you watch Vladimir Zelensky, and if you watch Vladimir Putin, of course, and all that. Vladimir Putin right now is in Minsk, of course. I'll be getting to that. Zelensky, I don't know, did he end his... First he was in NATO meeting, and then he was in, he was in the, where is this kid at anyway? Oh, it's right up here. Well, you guys can't see it. It's just on the second floor. Anyway, so there's he went from this NATO meeting, and the fruits of his labors didn't work out too well this time like they did in the last NATO meeting, the big one. And you know, they have a lot of NATO meetings all the time. They go to Ramstein and all that sort of a deal before. And just as a note, I was talking or chatting with somebody on online, and there is a it's kind of unusual, because you just saw the United States bombing this Fordow enrichment facility of Iran, and it's deep inside of a mountain. And the Americans have right near Ramstein, they have a big base inside of a mountain, inside of a rock. And I've been there. I was not allowed to go within 50 meters of it, but I saw this thing, and it's like you drive on this small winding road. You know, this goes around here, and there's not really big forest, but it's all undeveloped, a big long kind of winding road. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're sitting there looking at this mountain. It's a big rock, and there's a huge entrance there. You can bring bigger than a semi truck inside of there, and it's lit up. It's a big tunnel area. That's all I saw. And it's you have to get really special clearance to go inside there. And of course, there is regular enlisted people, of course, working in there as well. You have to have people to carry things and all that sort of a deal. Tell you what, it was a lot drier over here where this kid is screaming out the window. So I'm going to go back over here. The rain is coming back again. It's rain again. What's that? What is it? I don't know who said that. Creedence Clearwater or something. So I'm going to be listening to this kid yelling out the window periodically. But anyway, so that just reminded me of this Fordow when they're bombing this place. And this is a very secretive place that I went to. I got a lot of these little war stories from back in the day. And that was in the 1980s, about 1987 or whatever. Big secret place. And that's where the top brass of the United States military in Europe will all be going. It's sort of, I believe, near the border of, it's a place called I think that's near Parmesans, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, it's near Ramstein. I'm getting my bases mixed up, so don't count that as gospel, what I just said. We'll get to gospel in a little bit here. Anyway, okay, so these guys are going from one meeting to the other, these big meetings. And Vladimir Zelensky, he went to this European Commission deal, and they did this little ceremony thing, this setting up a tribunal or something. And Medvedev, it's like to put Russia, I don't know, like, who are they going to put in jail? I guess Medvedev, he put out a tweet and was asking, well, who are they going to put in jail? Maybe they're going to start with, what, Zelensky himself, or some of these Western leaders, because they're the ones that actually started this whole thing. They're the ones that initiated this attack. And a lot of reporters, they say, well, how come they didn't mention the fact that Ukraine was bombing and killing up to 14,000 of their own people in East Ukraine to kick this whole thing off? And Putin, he just went in, and Putin said he went in there a little bit too late. He should have gone in earlier. Maybe they would have, saved, you never know, many thousands of lives. But of course, yes, I mentioned it yesterday. Anybody who's buddies with the United States, they can do anything they want. There are no laws, there are no rules, there's nothing. You can do anything you want. You can kill as many people as you want. And of course, the press won't look at it, nothing like that. When the Russian press, if they look at it, they just ban the Russian press, make sure that they're not even allowed to to broadcast in the United States or any of their countries, if they ever dare to. I mean, that's what happened with RT and Sputnik and all that, as you all know. And of course, now nobody can even get those in the West. They're banned. You go into hotels, you go anywhere, you can't even get those. So I guess there's different ways to do it. You can get I think if you use your search engine, Opera, you can put in a different IPN, and then you can get Sputnik News, you can get RT, even if you're in the United States or in Germany. I believe that's how that works. But you have to get rid of Google and you have to use Opera instead. Oh, don't tell me I'm starting to get wet here. I'm going to probably have to go some other place. The rain is coming through and I haven't really even started getting there. Anyway, here, Putin, he just left the SPIF, which was the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and now he's in the, they use different words, the EA whatever, but anyway, it's the Eurasian Economic Forum, and that's taking place this time in Minsk. And he said some pretty interesting things, and I'll get to that towards the end here. But, and the West should really heed those things. They should really heed those things. It sounds a little bit innocuous, but it really is. Wait till I get to it. Zelensky, he's been spending the past couple of weeks, of course, begging, going around begging for more money and for weapons. And as you know, they don't need that many weapons. Apparently, I don't really know, how much they think that they need. I'm going to go dive over here, but somebody's going over there. As you see, they're going into that entrance over here, and I'm going to duck over there because the rain is starting to make my right. Come on, get in the house, get in there. Maybe the guy's got the thing, so they're standing underneath there. They were in a car. Well, they don't need to stand there. They can stay in the car to get out of the rain. Come on, get in. Okay, here they go. Rain, rain, rain. Terrible. I wish I could walk around, instead of always ducking under the rain. Not a good summer in Belarus. I wrote to somebody in Russia, and they're saying it's bad over there too. Summer's going to be bad compared to what's usually like here. Okay, so I'll try to go a little bit fast here. So, so he's on a begging tour, and of course what they do, he gets a lot of weapons, and as you all know, they turn up all over the world because they sell the weapons. Ukraine, everything. They sell everything. I guess they're born businessmen. Well, actually, you can just say that they're born corrupt people, They're supposed to be fighting a war with these weapons and this ammunition, but they go around and they sell it. They sell it all over. Who's doing it? I don't know. Is it Zelensky? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe some of the commanders. I guess they get a lot of leeway in what they do. So these weapons are for sale, and even terrorists that are attacking the United States, they're using American weapons. So, because they can turn that into money as well. They do a lot of corruption. I don't even want to go into it. There's so many things. And you guys already know about the drug trade. You know about the organs trade. You know about the child trafficking, maybe human trafficking in general. Really nasty stuff going on, as you all know. I've talked about that on a lot of things. A lot of people do. And we'll talk a little bit about Armenia, too. Something like that is going on there. Laboratories. We'll talk about that. So let's see. So words are running here. Make sure I read this right. Anyway, nothing really happened there, and then he went to the European Council. And of course, he ended his little speech with Slava Ukraina. He might as well have just said Heil Hitler, because that is the Ukrainian version of Heil Hitler. It was a call from Stefan Bandera. That is a known fact, by the way. And they tell people in the West, oh, no, it's not. Oh, it's not. But of course it is. That's a Banderite. That's a Banderite call. Slava Ukraina, victory to Ukraine or something like that. It was a Bandera call. So, Heil Hitler. Jeez. So they created this document, and I guess there's nobody really to enforce this thing. They don't really have an executive branch. I don't think this, they'll find somebody, of course. Who are they going to arrest? That's the big deal. Are they going to arrest all the Russians? I don't know. I guess maybe they'll work that one out a little bit later on who is exactly responsible. As you all know, the ICC, they tried to get that, and they're trying to get, and it's up. Just like corruption, just like what Israel was doing with the IAEA. And they were doing that, of course, to arrest Adolf Hitler based on zero evidence, absolutely zero evidence, nothing whatsoever, just some little suspicions. You pay somebody off, you get a lot of money. Ukraine's getting billions of dollars. You pay a couple billion, It's just I'll tell you what, it takes just $1 million. You give $1 million to somebody, and they'll issue an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. Plain and simple. I don't know if I would do that. $1 million, because I would know probably that it's not worth the paper it's printed on. So then I'd be $1 million richer. That'd be a tough decision if you ask me, really, seriously. Oh, mosquitoes. Oh, the elements, the elements. I say that every video nowadays, don't I? Here. Okay. So, I already talked a lot about this stuff. My ink is running. Here, let's keep going. Let's see. So, anyway, I was going to say, you know, like, Ukraine has, I guess, the right. They have the right. We have the right to kill our own people. We have the right, because they don't want to get rid of that Russian language. You know, and it's really strange. You go to the parliament at that time, for a long time, in Ukraine, and they were speaking Russian too, so I wonder if anybody is going to kill them. I wonder if they'll kill themselves because they were speaking Russian. A lot of mosquitoes here. Has it stopped raining? It's still raining. I don't know, me. I'm going to have to move around and get away from the mosquitoes. They're not settling on me here. Okay. Oops. Yes, here we go. Anyway, you guys know that Russia, or Ukraine, this guy has to, smells like some kind of a, you have to light vapes? I think he's vaping. I thought you just, maybe he clicked it. Maybe you just have to click it. I don't know. I don't vape. I guess it was a spark. It wasn't a lighter. I gotta go somewhere. Gotta get away from these mosquitoes. So, part of this, let's see. As far as, I think this was part of this summit, or this Council of Europe, and apparently they had a vote of trying, you know, has to do with letting Ukraine in the European Union, and everybody said yes. Yes, let's let Ukraine in. I don't know if Slovakia, I thought they were part of it. They wouldn't vote for that. But it turns out that it was vetoed by Hungary. Hungary recently had a referendum, and it was what, 90? Let me see if I wrote down that number. 95% of the people of Hungary. That guy's got the shade over there. I can't go over there. I'm trying to find a place. Why in the hell doesn't Russia or Belarus make places where you can shade from the rain? Gosh damn. You know? I have to depend on the trees. I love trees. Stay underneath a tree. Stay right here maybe. This one looks like it's, yeah, this looks good here. Okay. But anyway, it's very dark here. But anyway, 95% of the people said they don't want Ukraine in there. And I'll tell you what, it would be very, very high numbers in other countries too. That would even include some of the brainwashed countries like Germany and France and all that. They would also have a high amount of people that would not want Ukraine to be in there. I can even bet you it would be more than 50%. So I'll bet you. I'll betcha. So I might have to go somewhere else too. It's really dark here. I don't know if you guys can see me even when the dust clears. The rain is coming even more. There's a place right over here. Let me go there. Everybody's walking through here. This is a traffic area. I'll just bunch of people sitting. There's some shady tree area over. Bunch of guys drinking probably over there. Oh, let's try this area here. The adventures of this blogger. This lady's probably going to come in here. Oh, I guess not. Okay, let's see. So, anyway, no. Orban said, of course, in other meetings, he said that if they let Ukraine in, they will bankrupt. Orban knows what's going on. This is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. This guy knows, he knows exactly what this is all about. It's incredible. Ukraine, anything that Ukraine latches onto goes bankrupt. They bankrupt everybody. They steal all the money. Very, very corrupt. I'll tell you what, American officials have said European officials have said it's the most corrupt country on earth. Ah, now, look at this. Now this is going to be a big area. Everybody coming by here. Oh, shit. Okay, but anyway, corrupt country. And I think this time, well, it's raining even more now. This time, I think he was saying that they will even take the EU to war. Not just bankrupt them, they'll bankrupt them with war, of course, as well. They're not doing that well anyway, financially. UK isn't doing that well. You know, why don't they just friggin' say the UK is part of the EU? In so many ways it already is anyway. Even if they had this Brexit or whatever the heck that's called there. So, okay. Okay, so now I'm going to start with Armenia. This is very significant. It could really have some big repercussions, maybe even in the near future, not just in the distant future. And if you're a Christian, I guess this is going to be very substantial to you. Anyway. Okay. So, in the past, of course, Armenia has been having some troubles, and there was like a disputed areas, of course, with Azerbaijan, and there's other problems. You know, Armenia has a little bit of problems. You know, they had problems, and maybe justifiably so, with Turkey, and Turkey backs Azerbaijan. So I'll tell you what, they should cut their losses. Armenia does not have a big, powerful military, nothing like that. But I guess this this new leader, what his name is, Niko Pashinyan, whatever. Anyway, I'll tell you what, it's kind of a weak country, but it's a very Christian country. It is probably maybe one of the biggest, I guess, if you want to, I mean, I'm not saying with power, well, I'm not saying with money, I'm not saying, but with faith possibly. Armenia is one of the most significant countries as far as Christianity goes on earth. And I'll get into that. Okay. So anyway, discounting all of the problems they have with Armenia or what they have with Turkey or anything like that, disputed territories, this is something a little bit different. What is really going on there is the West is trying to seize Armenia. They're trying to bring it into their fold, you know, like Moldova, like they did with Moldova, and they got so many other places. You know, it's a thing of conquest. They try to, you know, it's some little bit like, remember Klaus Schwab? We penetrate the cabinets, you know, and it's Klaus Schwab, deep state sort of thing, World Economic Forum, but nobody talks about them anymore. But, you know, the deep state is still going at it. You know, George Soros, part of the World Economic Forum. But as you see, that World Economic Forum is nothing but just a little bit of a branch. And I guess it's a little bit weak in power right now. But penetrates the cabinets. But of course, it still exists. And it's a branch of power control, apparently. And you guys know that. You know, you've got this COVID and all this. These are a bunch of, I tell you what, the world's messed up. You guys don't have to be told that. Anyway, so on the surface, it looks like it's some sort of a dispute between church and state, Pashinyan guy or whatever, and the Armenian church, and the apostolic church, and but it's not. It's the West trying to take Armenia and use it as, of course, and it's strategic position. That is if you look on a map, I was thinking, I was actually wrong. I thought that Armenia had a small border with Russia. It doesn't have one at all. It has, I'll get into that a little bit. I wrote down, I don't want to make it, okay, it's actually Turkey, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Iran. Iran, huh? Iran. Didn't we just hear about Iran last week? Okay, but the West seeks to take control of Armenia and turn it into a base to be used against both Russia and Iran. So because of its, like I said, strategic position. And Georgia, as you notice, Georgia is kind of really pushing, trying to get out of the fold of the West. They still, for some odd reason, some of them want to be part of the European Union. And remember, there was a dispute, and there was actually a French, a woman, the president there, appointed under Saakashvili. Saakashvili was was an anti-Russia, of course, and he was an agent of the United States. He was a Yale graduate and all that, and he appointed the president while he was the prime minister. And this president, of course, she's actually French. She got Georgian blood. She was trying to take over. You guys all know about it. This was about that foreign agents law, and Georgia is trying to be a sovereign country, and the West doesn't want that. You know, they're trying to adopt the same bill that the United States has, where you can't have foreign agents, you know, NGOs and all that are controlling the country. And, you know, the West didn't like that, even though the European Union is trying to have that too, but they're trying to have it under their control, like the U.S. has, you know, no foreign agents, but a lot of corruption. And anyway, but they just wanted to hold control of Georgia. And of course, if the West, meaning the United States and the European Union, because they're both working on this together to take Armenia, and they can use that as a base to go against Iran. They can use that as a base to go against Georgia, and of course, thereby, of course, Russia as well. And of course, a lot of this is all against Russia as well, because traditionally, Russia is supposed to be like a protectorate of Armenia and to be holding peace there, but it's going different now. This Pashinyan, he has been doing war games, you know, with the United States and with the West. And of course, they're trying to destroy the church there. And it's not quite like overt as what was happening in, well, I should stick to my notes. I'm just going by memory, and I don't trust that. Being Joe Biden, I should go. Let me read instead here. First, let me tell you that it's landlocked. These other countries, all these other countries that have borders with Armenia, they're not landlocked. But Armenia is landlocked. And that puts, as you know, like in Belarus and a lot of other countries, Slovakia, puts a lot of restrictions on a country when you don't have a seaport. And then say if you're surrounded maybe by people that are not necessarily your friends, you're not even allowed to fly airplanes over their territory. So it's like you're stuck. It's like you're being in a prison. I'm not saying that that's the case, but it could be that way. Like in Belarus, you cannot fly to the west anymore. You can't fly to Belarus. As a matter of fact, if you're flying from Turkey, well, you got to make these huge detours. The proverbial truck. The proverbial trucks that always ruin my videos. Garbage truck here. So I have to put up with this for a little bit. And guess what I have right here? And it's raining, so I'm stuck. And they're going to be coming here and making up a bunch of noise. I could put it on hold, and then I have to put this all into a different program. It takes a lot longer. Maybe I can spy some other place to go. I'm just going to have to get out. Hopefully my ink does not rain, because they will run, because they're going to be here in 1 minute. Trying to find a place to shelter from the rain. Jeez. Why? Murphy's Law. Right here it looks kind of dry underneath this tree. Can't go in there. Some lady pissed off at somebody. So this was important stuff here. Talking about another, oh, look at this, I can go over here. Fantastic. Nobody's going to stand here. Bunch of, look at these doors and stuff, as you guys all see. Drips from the roof, but that's okay, and only in a couple places. Okay, let's go. I think I can go through the rest of my stuff here. As you guys know, at least some of you guys that are Christians, yes, Jesus was Armenian, actually. A lot of people say, no, he was Aramaic. But guess what? Aramaic, that's a branch, that's a tribe of the Armenians. Joseph and Mary were from that area. So Christianity has its roots very, very deep and very ancient when it comes to Armenia. So I get that's well. What I'm going to say here is the leader is trying to basically destroy the church there, and it's like I said, it's more covert. It's more covert than what the Ukrainians did, because the Ukrainians are saying, "Oh, they're the agents of the Russians, so we have to destroy this." And then of course Mike Pompeo. Hey, wait, he was head of the CIA under Donald Trump. So during that time of Donald Trump, our great friend that loves Christianity, he says, they went and they Pompeo went with Poroshenko, as you all know, and they went to Istanbul and they talked to some kind of secondary sort of a person within the Orthodox Church there, and then they somehow, not even legitimately, they created some other little branch, a brand new branch of probably with probably some some of this stuff here. As you know, money talks, and they created another little branch. What is it? And I get it mixed up because they made it like this purposefully. I think the real church, let me make sure if I get to, is the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. But now they created the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, kind of to fool everybody, to get everybody mixed up purposefully. And of course, that's a fake church now. And they worship like symbols and sort of, within that church, they make Ukraine to be kind of a holy place and all that. And maybe that's along with changing, as you all know, they're trying to change a lot of the history, and they're trying to change a lot of things. Ukraine has been doing that for quite some time, saying that they dug the Black Sea with their bare hands, even though Ukraine never bordered the Black Sea ever in their history until what was it, 1954? Then suddenly, when Khrushchev gave the Crimea, I guess it was partly to get some sort of votes to get him to become the leader of the Soviet Union. Khrushchev was a really nasty guy. It looks like he was probably the worst leader of the Soviet Union. And of course, I think it was his wife. His wife was Ukrainian or something like that. And I think they were sitting around. Part of it was drinking and all that, and drunk and all that. And he said, "Oh yeah, well let's make it part of Ukraine." And of course, the people there are Russian. They always were Russian. Hope they guy giving me the eye there. Wondering, what are you doing? Actually, I've never seen a blogger before. Call them bloggers over here. Anyway, so where was I at here? Mount Ararat, where Noah landed. Well, the water receded and he supposedly landed. That's in Armenia as well. So I guess that was supposed to be before Mary and Joseph and all that. So in a sense, I guess even right there, what is the Hebrew? I don't really know. Like I said, I'm very suspect of the Old Testament, and I don't even believe everything in the New Testament either. So that's just me personally, but I respect Christianity, and I definitely respect Jesus. So I guess that makes me a Christian, doesn't it? In a lot of ways. Anyway, everybody has their own definition of what is a Christian anyhow. So I don't even want to get into that. So Mount Ararat is there. And now in Armenia, what is happening? The pro-US, pro-EU government, they're trying to destroy Christianity in Armenia, obviously, and I guess it's called the Catholico, I guess that is the place where the Archbishop there stays, and they're storming it with special forces, commandos, and they're taking all these people and they're putting them in prisons and all that sort of a deal. Anything that's in charge of the church. And then there was a big businessman that actually supported the church, and of course they arrested him and threw him in jail. So they're doing everything possible to destroy the church. And whether they're going to come up with their own fake church like Ukraine came up with a fake church, I don't know if Armenia is going to come up with a fake church. Like I said, they're doing this a little bit more covertly rather than overtly. But of course it's turning into overtly because everybody is getting the message on this. And I don't know if they're going to replace it with LGBT and You never know. They might put George Floyd over there. The new Jesus. George Floyd. And you never know. Maybe they'll come up with some other guy. Maybe the ghost of Kiev or something like that. You never know. They might come up with some fake guy. For their new church, if they're going to create one and get everybody to start going over there and worship it and stuff. I don't even think it's not really even an Orthodox church. It's not even. It's that they have a slight difference with a lot of other churches there, and I'm not even sure what that is. These guys are watching me over there. I guess that's their biggest entertainment, is to see me sitting over here talking to my phone. Maybe I'll show you guys from a distance here. If you can see those guys over there. Anyway. Wave to them here. Anyway. So, I guess they're probably trying to say they're agents of Russia. I don't know if they've even come up with that. But of course, in Ukraine, it was like you get rid of everything, anything that's related, even looks Russian. If it looks Russian, you get rid of it. It's like sterilize, must sterilize. I hate it. I'm going to face the other way. I don't like these guys sitting there staring at me. I don't know. Why is it so interesting? Sterilize, sterilize, sterilize. I don't know, LGBT. Because I guess that's clean, isn't it? The LGBT people. So they sent these special government commando special forces people there, and I guess they were assaulting the private residence of they, as a matter of fact, I think they even have a monastery there. It's one of the oldest, maybe the oldest in all of Christianity. It was in Armenia, possibly. But anyway, they stormed these entrances where this archbishop is supposed to be at, and because they could not get into the main entrances, plural, is because the priests and the parishioners are guarding it and they're blocking it. They can't seem to get them in. And I think there was even some resistance going into these other places to get this guy. Some old guy. He's very frail and he's very ill right now. And I guess they probably want to put him, just like they did in Ukraine, throw some old guy in a beard, that has trouble walking, and just, it's just like Israel. I guess they assassinated this spiritual leader of Hamas. The guy's in a wheelchair, very old. I think he's paralyzed in a lot of ways. And of course they killed him and everybody around him. And that was some years ago. Maybe it was even 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know. But it's just the same thing. It's I guess they're trying to turn themselves into Nazis as well in Armenia. It's very sad, because this guy, he's trying to balance on the cusp between, being friends with, Belarus and Russia and all that, and then with the West. But obviously, he's trying to go full bore, jump both feet into the West. I don't really understand what this whole deal is. Is the guy compromised? Did they threaten him? Or are they giving him big rewards? I think they probably compromised him in some way. Maybe he likes little boys. You never know. I'm talking about the leader of Armenia. You never know. He doesn't want to get exposed. Probably, we'll expose you if you don't do what we say, and if you do what we say, we'll shower you with money as well. Comfortable life. You know how these things go. Anyway, I guess this leader, his name is Mikhail of the church, Mikhail Ajpanian. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. The EU Defense Commissioner, this is some really crazy stuff here too. There's a lot of crazy stuff. It always comes from the West, as you know. But this commissioner has stated that the EU, get this one, this is mathematics, Annalena Baerbock. The EU will need 3 million drones to take on Russia. And he says Russia can have right around now 5 million drones. So we need to have capacities bigger than those in order to prevail. So it's like, so Russia has 5 million drones and we have to have a bigger capacity. So we'll get 3 million drones. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I don't know what math class the guy went to. Annalena Baerbock. Ooh, that's when she was in the World Economic Forum. She's Baerbock now, but she used to be called probably Annalena Baerbock. I'm sure with all these, as you never know what she was doing over there, as a lot of people know what she was doing in the World Economic Forum. I guess then probably they did call her Baerbock. But anyway, she's Baerbock. And so They need more drones. So 3 million is more than 5 million, according to the Annalena Baerbock School of Mathematics. So, as a matter of fact, you know, and I think they're trying to say that they, you know, I'll tell you what, Russia does not have 5 million drones. I don't have to go there. I don't have to have anything to do with them. And I know they don't have 5 million drones. Ukraine does not even have 3 million drones, you know, and they have more drones than Russia, and that's pretty well known. It's just that Russia is a little bit better at drone warfare. They have these sensor systems, and now they're even coming up with a laser that will shoot the drones down. Who knows, maybe the West is coming up with that sort of a deal too. Donald Trump says we have secret weapons that nobody knows about, that nobody can beat. I don't know. Donald Trump knows. But anyhow, Russia's doing very good on that, and they're more effective with the drones. Even though Ukraine has more drones, higher capacities. They're getting drones from everywhere. Lots of drones from Australia, and Australia is really involved in wanting to help Ukraine. Why, I have no idea. Anyway. But where does this guy get these figures? I didn't even write the guy's name down. I don't know, no big deal. But he's probably pulling them out of his backside, 5 million. I mean, he's like, oh, well, that sounds like a good round number. Let's just say 5 million, because it sounds pretty threatening. And we'll get 3 million, because that's a bigger number than 5 million. Anyway, Idiocracy, here we go. Idiocracy, watch the movie. Okay. Another thing about Armenia, and it's already been exposed, I guess, you know. I mean, it's another step into the West. Remember all of these laboratories, what they were doing over there in Ukraine, and you guys all know. And I mean, you all know about the things like coronavirus. So there's more guys out there looking at me now, I guess. Well, at least they're kind of paying attention and talking about their other stuff here. I guess I'm old news now. They already pointed at me and wondered what the heck I'm doing here. But anyway, you're not allowed to say weapons, of course, I mean, in certain contexts, but anyhow, as we all know that what they had in Victoria Nuland said, they had these laboratories. They had 46, the U.S. was operating 46 laboratories in Ukraine, and I don't really know how much of those are part that were in that were in the part that Russia has control of right now, but of course they still have some now operating, obviously. A lot of those they moved to various places, like Africa, a lot of them in Africa now, and all of a sudden it exposed. That's Armenia, boy, oh, we know where some of them moved now. And Biden family is involved in some of these, probably still are right now. And you know, they had the virus, they were working on the coronavirus things there. Of course, the vaccines to try to cure the world from the, you know, and all this sort of deal. And some of these things that were used against livestock and things in Chechnya were developed in Ukraine, as you know, and a lot of goats and sheep died in Chechnya. And, you know, it was, matter of fact, it was somehow even done through birds, you know, migratory birds. And that was, I guess, very well-known fact. It was put out, and you guys probably didn't hear so much about it, but I mention it once in a while in my videos. Somehow dispersed with birds, but it was killing sheep and goats and things like that. And I guess that's one point of contention. Why the Chechnyans don't like the Ukrainians is because they killed off a lot of their livestock. Anyhow, let's see. The Daily Mail is putting out that Putin is pushing, lady looking at me, was pushing the migrants to Great Britain. You know, it's not Great Britain's policies. No, all these years. It's not Starmer covering for all these Pakistanis grooming the young girls, British girls, to be prostitutes and who knows what all. No, no, no. It wasn't Starmer and all of them buddies. You know, I wonder if no, I guess, but it's not the bum buddies. Bum buddies. It was some guy coming over here. Bum buddies from. Huh? See, ja ni kuri. Kuru. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's spasibo. Okay. I don't smoke. I don't cuss. I don't smoke. I don't drink. God damn, I left my cigarettes at the bar. Anyway, this guy. He's not part of the people that were interested over there. Ah, adventures in Belarus, I guess, you know. You guys, I don't know if you saw some of my videos I get when I talk to the police sometimes, you know. But you know, when I was outside of a theater once, and they told me I'm not allowed to film outside the theater, and I was telling these people, I said, it's not the Soviet Union anymore, buddy, you know, or a lady. It was a lady at first, and the guy that told, she says, this guy, the director, told her to tell me to leave, and I can't film outside of their theater or whatever like that. And then you know, so I went across the street, and there was like a shop or something like that. Because it was also raining, so I took cover there, and they called the police, and the police came to me, and they told me, no, I can film by the theater. There's, you know, I can't go filming in a military base. That's about the only place, you know. At one time, I was told by people in a military base, because I didn't even know it was something to do with military, and it's in some other video, and you guys have to watch the videos to find all these adventures. And they told me I'm not allowed to film there. As a matter of fact, I shut the camera off. The guy told me to, but I don't even know. I can film outside the military base. If push came to shove, and I wanted to be Zelensky or something like that, I would say yes, I can. Well, not Zelensky. I don't know, Trump. I'd have to be a Trumpish. But anyway, where am I at here? The Daily Mail. So Putin is pushing these. They're pushing the migrants to the Great Britain. I wonder how he's doing that. It's quite a distance from Russia to there. I don't know. Is he putting them on boats or something like that? Oh no, I was talking about the Pakistanis groomers. You know, teaching the young girls to be prostitutes and drug addicts and all that. I don't know. You guys already heard about that stuff. Anyway, damn that Putin. Damn Putin. He's doing everything. Putin did everything. Putin. It's Putin. It's Putin. It's absolutely. It's just funny. It's like a comedy show watching geopolitics, isn't it? So also there's been a resurgence in the talk from the West of these frozen Russian assets, as you know, and they've already stolen, you know, the interest gathered on those assets. But Putin's talking about what's going to happen if they steal the principal, you know, the money that is the original money, the principal. Damn, the principal! I'm going to have to go see the principal. Different principal, anyway. Not the profits raised from the interest rates. Okay, anyway. So there's this thing here. What is it said? So what Putin was saying initially, I'll get a little bit more into that. He said that they're going to move the assets will start to very, very quickly and more be expedited when they're going to be moving assets from the Western institutions. It'll intensify and become irreversible. I'll talk about that in a second. And he said it's not a theft, it's a robbery, because a theft is, I guess, something he said is done, you know, cover of darkness or whatever, but a robbery is done in daylight. So they're stealing the money. And of course, obviously, nobody's going to really want to put their money, you know, in the West, because once it's done, you know, that's it's like I don't know, not like first blood or something like that, but once they do it one time, they're going to be doing it everywhere. Your country's a terrorist, you know, anybody who has a lot of money in there, they're going to seize it. It'll just happen more often, not just to Russia. Okay, I'll get to that in a minute here. Israel said in the past weeks they wanted to in the past weeks during this thing, and this guy was from the Defense Secretary, Israel Katz is his name. Katz. He said that they wanted to assassinate Ayatollah Khamenei, but they did not have the operational opportunity to do so. He reiterated that we don't need any permission from the United States to do so. So it's like, who runs who? Who made who? Is that an AC/DC or something? Who runs who? Is it Israel that runs the U.S. or U.S. that runs the Israel, or is it a little bit of both? You know, you never know from Donald Trump, because he'll say he runs Israel or whatever, but anyway, your guess is as good as mine. Only their hairdresser knows for sure. That was from a commercial. Somebody asked me that. Only her hairdresser knows for sure. I think it was like something about some product or something about dyeing your hair. Some old stuff from my day. Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. You know, that sort of a deal. Some of those old commercials. And the hair color looked so great that only the hairdresser knows that her hair is dried. So anyhow, let's see. So also with Israel, I should mention this first, you know, there's been flights. Again, lots of airplanes, big cargo airplanes going to Israel. And there was a big one that took off from Kelowna, 747, filled. It was 128 tons of weapons going to Israel. And it wasn't because, you know, Israel just, yesterday they struck Lebanon, huge bombing raids into the mountains and all this sort of a deal. It wasn't, you know, Israel's, at least they're not bombing as often in the past couple weeks, bombing civilian areas, you know, bombing right in the city and bombing apartment buildings. Of course they keep doing that. Of course they keep doing it, but they're slowing down a little bit more and more hitting maybe just strictly military targets. Maybe because a lot of people have been talking about, you know, they're baby killers. Of course they're baby killers. That's if you're Palestinian, of course, that's the main target is the children. They want to kill babies. Babies or pregnant ladies, those are the number one targets, obviously, of Israel. And of course, after that, of course, was, you know, young men and, you know, then the old people and, you know, any woman that can bear children, of course, is a big target as well of Israel. You guys all know that. Terrible stuff. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about Putin a little bit more. Putin did it. Well, there's another little thing here. First, I'll talk about Israel. They're moving Palestinians out of the West Bank to make, and what they're saying, mosquitoes again, to make, they say, oh, we need a military training area. But I was thinking that's, well, obviously they see it as their territory. Just some damn Palestinians living on our territory, just like in Gaza. I'll tell you, it's really terrible stuff. So anyway, I don't even know where they're moving them to. Do you think they're building them houses? They're probably moving them into refugee camps, into tents. So they're stealing these people's lands, their houses and everything. They said they need to make a I think it was announced not too long ago. They're taking what's apparently what somebody said, and it sounds gigantic. 61% of the West Bank. They're now, of course, moving towards that. Of course, they've stolen huge portions of it already anyway and made settlements. But 61% of what exists today of the West Bank, people should be talking about that a lot more. It's really terrible anyway as you were watching this stuff happening here. Oh man, I'm already almost an hour. I'm getting close anyway. So as you listen to Putin, I was going to say, he's mentioning what will happen if the West steals the Russian money, which they've already been stealing, obviously. So before I say that, you've got to realize about something about Putin. So when you listen to his words, and it has a lot of weight. His first degree was in law, and of course he did this in St. Petersburg, and then later on, he was already involved in government and things, and then he got his second degree, which is in economics, later on, much later on, and he is considered very, very brilliant in economics, so you can't discount that. Very brilliant. And when Putin talks economics, as you all have been noticing, everybody listens to Putin, and he might be one of the best economists there is. And he's running a country. He's running Russia. Russia's doing very well right now. And as testament to his ability in economics, just look at Russia. Just look at Russia and look at what it was like when he took over as the leader of Russia. So let's keep going on that here. So I've talked about this. Got great economic instincts, of course. And of the 300 billion that is frozen, 200 billion of that is controlled by Euroclear in Belgium. the other 100 billion, of course, probably a lot of that is within the United States, or it's also within the European Union, or maybe even in the UK, as far as I know. I don't know. So, but that's 100 billion. But the 200 billion, which is a majority of that, is controlled by Euroclear. And so yesterday, no, that's part of something else. Anyhow, where did I write this? Did I even write it down? Anyway, such a big portion of this, I guess Euroclear, some of the interest that was gathered on this 200 billion, it was 1.63 billion, and apparently they've already handed that over to Ukraine. Who knows how much of that actually got to Ukraine, how much of it got to Zelensky, who knows what, you know. But anyway, supposedly it went within a transaction to Ukraine, and that was the interest on that money. And what did you say here? So yesterday in Minsk, right here in Minsk, Putin is in Minsk as right now, probably still, as you know. He said as soon as the West steals the money, there will be a shift towards regional payment systems, and it will accelerate and undoubtedly become irreversible. So what he's saying is that the West is really going to be tanking much, much more if they actually do steal this money from Russia. And Putin knows what he's talking about, and it's not like they're sitting around waiting, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Putin has put some things in motion. Putin is a man of action. And of course, you know, he is the one that really started the BRICS nations. And I'm not saying that they're going to go, and Donald Trump has made big threats as soon as they go to a different payment system, which means instead of the United States dollar, he's meaning in that way. And if the USA or Donald Trump sees that the United States is going to be losing control of the world's, reserve currency, like that it will shift into something else. And I'll tell you what, there's some talking about going into, I don't know about, what do you call it, cryptocurrencies or whatever, but the BRICS is talking about that. Not that they're going to go into the ruble or the Chinese yen, but it will be going into some sort of a digital assets. And of course, a lot of this is going to be accelerating. Of course, if they do decide to steal this money, Putin is not going to take this very lightly, and he's going to be using this as an excuse. And I don't even think that Donald Trump is going to be able to do anything about it. What is he going to do, bomb Russia? Donald Trump, obviously, he's making his plans, of course, right now, too. So this is going to be a big thing if they really do try to steal the money. We'll see what's going to happen. And it's not going to happen like overnight. It's going to happen over a period of time. And I'm not an economic genius, but I just know that you're not going to be playing around with Vladimir Putin. When he says something like this, he's come out, he said a lot of things in the past, and it's worth listening to what Vladimir Putin says. So I wouldn't be stealing this money. You know, they're stealing the profits or the interest accrued on that money that they're holding. But I wouldn't go any further than that if I were you. So anyway, that's pretty much how I'm going to end this. Another thing that Putin said is, and this is maybe a little bit more chilling, even though it's not chilling words. He says about them stealing Russians' assets, he's going to say, maybe it's even worth paying the price. So what is going to happen when they steal that money is what he's referring to. So for them stealing the money, what's going to happen afterwards as a result of them stealing? You guys are going to think, what are you talking about? Them stealing the money, he said, the result of them stealing the money may turn out to be worth. The money that they steal is going to be worth what is going to happen afterwards. So that's what he is driving at. So, and it's going to be what he's probably trying to say is going to be the downfall of the economic system of the West if they do that. So that's what I'm driving at. Anyhow, that's about all I have to say for right now. This is like 1 hour video. Boy, oh boy. And I hope you guys got something from this video. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye. Sorry about the rain. Later.